Today we're painting a tree quickly and easily with a fan brush. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to Paint with Sal. We have black, raw umber, ultramarine blue, cadmium yellow, teal, white, and cadmium red. Okay, so we're going to take a flat brush, and first thing we're going to do is we need some branches in the trunk. So I'm going to take some ultramarine blue and umber and just make something that's near a black. Okay, and you can just bring it up. Alright, so you just have a line there in the middle like that. Now we need a few branches. Trees are all different, but in this case the branches are going to go upwards, and typically they will get skinnier as they get toward the end. Make sure that the branches are a little different on either side, and they don't just go directly horizontal, but they go upwards a little bit. And some of them go more out, more horizontal, and some are more vertical. Just make sure you have some variation in there. And that's what's going to make it look more real. That is a good start. Since we're doing a quick tree, we will just leave it like that. Now what we want to do is we want to take a shadow of the tree. So a green, the darkest green that you would see in the tree. So to get that, again, we're going to get some ultramarine blue. We're going to add some cadmium yellow to it. And I know this is about the fan brush, but we're beginning with a quick block in. So let's just look for the edges of our tree so you can generally get a shape of how you want it to be. Make sure it's a little irregular if you want it to look more realistic. Let's mostly fill this in just by doing quick brush strokes like this. By doing quick strokes like this, you're going to get some texture already in here, and also you don't want to cover the whole thing because you want to leave some sky showing through, because that will also make it more realistic. We'll leave some little pockets like this where we'll have the sky in there. If you want to do it quicker, you can just brush it on kind of like quickly like this. It just doesn't get the great kind of texture you get if you take your time with it. Just come in and apply a little less pressure by adding a couple small pieces coming off, and leave a lot of air showing through. This will get you more of that realism. Okay, now it's time to get to the fan brush. We're going to take the fan brush and we're going to get a mid-tone now, so something lighter than this, the main color of the tree that you see that's not in shadows. We can take the mix that we already have and just put a bit more yellow into it, and I'm going to add some teal. That will give it a lot more saturation. Now grab your fan brush, stick it in that paint, and move forward and catch the paint on the edges. With light pressure, you're going to go in with a corner of the brush and just create clumps of leaves. You need to keep in mind your light source, which in this particular case is going to be coming from the top right, and so it'll be, the highlights will be coming from that way, from that direction. And make sure you don't put it everywhere. Like I said, you just want to create some clumps of leaves. And we're not seeing that too much, so let's just warm it up a bit with some yellow. Okay. So that's how you create leaves by little clumps. You'll see that's the way that trees grow. You'll see that it doesn't grow in a perfect sphere. So there are branches that come out a little more than other ones, and that's where you get these pockets of shadows and light. Make sure that your clumps aren't all the same size. That's kind of what ours is looking like at the moment. So do some smaller ones in between and some bigger areas where a lot of light might be hitting. For this stage, mostly you just want some coverage because we can't see it too much yet. It'll matter more the brush strokes and where you put the clumps of leaves once we get to the highlights. Let's just put some color and make sure we cover up most of the canvas. And then maybe a little bit of a highlight on this side. This is a quick and easy tree, like I said, and that's why we're just hinting at details here. We're doing it very quickly instead of going in and getting all the details in this bark. We're just hinting at the form. We need a highlight now, so we're gonna add a bit of yellow and add a bit of white. We don't want it too warm yet, so let's just make this mix. It's basically a very light green. Pick up the paint on the corners, on the edges, and let's look for some highlights in here. So take the corner. Alright, so if you can, look for some of the clumps that you already made and just hit the top right of it. Just barely touching. Don't apply too much pressure. If you hit the top right, that means that the light is just hitting the tops of these clumps that you made that are jutting out. The more paint you pick up on the fan brush, the more of a larger blob, if you will, of paint will come off. So, depending how you want your painting, if you want it more impasto, which means the paint is coming off of the canvas, standing proud, or if you don't, I like to go somewhere in the middle. Okay, it's starting to look like a tree here. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comments below. One more time, I want to hit this this trunk, even though we're really not learning how to do the trunk in this video. I need it to be a little bit darker. We really need that contrast. We need it to be darker in here in the center. Some of these branches you can just quickly get peeking through here. I just want to manually go in really quick and just get some of these furry edges really quick. Just quickly hint at some clumps of leaves, because see how they're just a bunch of blotches? Sometimes if you go very quickly, like we are doing in this video, it'll be all blotches on the end there, which doesn't always look good unless it's further away or you have other subjects in the painting. But if you have one subject that you're looking at, you want it to look good. So you need your edges to look good. If you just want to get the tree done very quickly, you don't have to do this step. And so for that reason, I think I will speed this up really quickly and just get this done. and then we'll get to the last stage of this tree. Alright, so we're done here. Now we just need to get the uber highlights. We're going to get some warmth into here with more yellow. So mix some more yellow into what you already have as a highlight. Push that paint up onto the end of your brush. And now use this sparingly. Look for the real highlights here. So you want to use it mostly on top of the other highlights that you already had, and really you want to get the line at the edge. So at the very top right of your highlights that you already have, that edge is where it's really going to hit. The very top edge of the clump is where most of the light should be hitting. And if you have any darks over here still, don't mind if you cover a lot of it. Since it's mostly light over here, you don't want any really darks, the blacks coming through. And I would get almost the entire top right half of the tree, just envelop that in highlights. Getting a little more color into here with some cool shadows on this side. Just helps sometimes to have some shadows to make your light stand out. Alright, I'd like to go in with one more highlight. And that's just, we're going to mix a tiny more white into the edge of this yellow mix. If you use any of these sparingly, it's this one. If you don't keep the form and you just willy-nilly throw them on, then it's not going to look right. It won't look like it's on the top of anything. It'll just be more like light peeking through from the back. So make sure that you're sparing with your highlights. You begin with the shadows as long as you want to get a tree done very quickly. I usually begin with mid-tones if I'm not going very quickly, but then you kind of work backwards. So you can begin with shadows, just get the silhouette done, and just keep building on that into the highlights. So make sure you watch this video because I go into more techniques on how to paint trees, and you really need to see this one.